Hey guys, Kevin Thomas here, Moving the Chains. Round 2 of the playoffs tonight. I'll tell you what, a wet and crazy night of football there. Hey, you guys on Twitter as well. So like I said, round 2 of the playoffs tonight going on. I've got all the scores for you, waiting on one score to come in still. It is late in the fourth quarter there. There's one game actually postponed until tomorrow, so I won't have that one for you guys either. But I've got everything else from around the state with some scores here, starting 5A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through all the scores and kind of get some previews for next week. So 5A, Burns beats Lawrence 41-12 on the road. Gaffney travels down to Sumter, takes down the Gamecocks 33-7. A game that I said that Gaffney was going to win. John was not in agreement last week, but I thought Gaffney had the better football team, and they showed it for sure. They're getting healthy at the right time. Dorman still hadn't allowed a point in the postseason. They beat Spring Valley 49-0. Clover handles Malden 58-31. Dutch Fork 45-0 over Wando. Fort Dorchester 37-7 over Berkeley. Carolina Forest in the game that was played last night. Carolina Forest 36-25 over River Bluff. Goose Creek and Somerville is one game that's actually rescheduled for tomorrow at noon. So that 5A game will have to wait until tomorrow to be found out there. In 4A, maybe the game of the night here. Amy Rush Shepard just brought it up here in our Facebook comment group. Greenville hits a last-second field goal, I think a 19-yarder, to beat BHP 24-21. Red Raiders move on to round 2. The next game is the one that we don't have the final score for yet. But what I'll tell you, it was 65-29 Wren over Greer. Apparently there was some kind of late hit out of bounds play late. The refs threw some flags, and all of a sudden the refs just left the field with the clock still time on it. So trying to get some confirmation of what exactly happened over there under the water tower, or not under the water tower, over there in Wren, to figure out what happened at the end of that game. So waiting on a final, but Wren has that one wrapped up 65-29 over Greer. Daniel, another really good ball game in 4A. Daniel takes down Westwood 27-22. Got some great pictures and things from Denise all night long. Thank you for keeping us updated there. So you tuning in on Twitter, appreciate you. Love the pictures and stuff there. Big win over Westwood for Daniel. Ridgeview, a team that I like a lot, takes down AC Florida 28-15 on the road. Airport all over Lower Richland 42-12. Another game from last night. Myrtle Beach handles North Myrtle Beach with a little bit of trouble there, 35-27, but Myrtle Beach wins. Luke Doty did not play. There's been some kind of conflicting reports of if he's out for the season or not. Came out at first and said he was done for the year, but then his coach came back and said he's not. So who knows what's going on there with Luke Doty, but Myrtle Beach moves on and will face Airport next week. Broken Casey all over Wilson 40-6, and then Hartsville handles Beaufort 34-17. That's all for 4A there. 3A, a big win for Woodruff. Kind of surprised me a little bit. 52-6 over Pendleton. Chapman takes down Newberry 52-14. Another game, Chapman scores over 50 points. Not a big surprise there. Union handles Chesney 53-28. Camden all over Broome 39-7. In Lower State, we've got Strom Thurman 42-7 over Sherraw. Last night, another game from last night. May River 36-22 over Ainer. Gilbert 45-6 over Lake City, a game that was actually moved to River Bluff due to some weather concerns there at Gilbert. And then another game from last night, Dillon handles Wade Hampton 20-21 in a really good ball game down there at Wade Hampton in Varnville. On the 2A, Upper State, we've got Southside Christian 23-7 over Pittsburgh Leesville. That's a good one for those guys. I don't know if you guys have heard. Their quarterback, Hertzberg, J.W. Hertzberg, is out. I don't know when he'll be back, but he is a really good player. So then to be able to beat Pittsburgh Leesville by a couple scores without him, that's a very nice win for the Sabres there. Saluda takes down Beaufort 55-22. Abbeville all over Andrew Jackson 37-0. Gray Collegiate 44-18 over St. Joe's. And then in Lower State, Timberland 28-6 over Bamberg Earhart. Once again, if you guys have not seen that play that won the game for Bamberg Earhart last week against Mullins, you need to go check it out. It's on our Twitter page, on our Facebook page. Crazy hook and ladder, just tossed around as time expires, and they win the game there. Barnwell continues to roll. They shut out Burke 41-0. Woodland 32, Calhoun 6. And then Oceanside Collegiate, still a hot topic after what happened with those guys. I don't know if you guys, in case you're not familiar, they were the 1 seed in their region, that region 5. They had to forfeit 4 games because of using an extra player. One of those JV guys they called up, kind of a big issue there. Everybody thought that maybe they should be kicked out of the playoffs or whatever happened, but they got bumped down to a 4 seed, and they are playing really well right now. They beat Whale Branch 28-0. And then on to 1A. maybe the game of the night in 1A right here. Ridge Spring Monetta beats Whitmire 38-30. Blackfield Hilda takes down McBee 36-12. Lamar all over Ware Shoals 64-0. Wagner Sally beats McCormick 44-0. Cross takes down Baptist Hill, upset there 34-26. And then Lakeview last night beats Branchville 60-6. C.E. Murray 44-6 over Scotts Branch. And then Green Sea Floyd's 65-0 over St. John's. That's something that John and I talked about with you guys. 1A playoffs. Obviously, we saw some blowouts in other divisions too, but you see some of these 1A games. It's just crazy the disparity in the talent there. Like Lamar 64-0, Lakeview 60-6, Green Sea Floyd 65-0. You don't expect to see that many blowouts. I think in the second round of the playoffs, but that's something that you're going to get in 1A just because of the size of the schools, and there's just some just have talent, some don't, but they have to make the playoffs because just for a numbers perspective there. So, quick recap there of the public school scores. One quick SCISA score for you. Thomas Hayward takes down PD Academy 20-7. Big win there for Thomas Hayward, and that is the end of the season for PD Academy. Let's see what other scores I've got. I think I saw Hammond take down Heathwood Hall, I believe. Let's see if I've got any more SCISA scores for you guys in case you're interested in that. I'll find them later. Anyway, once again, I'm Kevin Thomas here. I'm Moving the Chains. John is out tonight, so doing it solo. Luckily, there are not as many games as usual, so I can kind of handle it hopefully tonight. But if you're watching us on Facebook, really appreciate it. Moving the Chains SC on Facebook. You can check us out there. We're on Twitter as well. We're live on Twitter at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. You can see it right down there. Both of the links underneath there. Also on YouTube, if you want to watch us after this, we're on YouTube as well as on Facebook Live. The stuff always stays on Facebook, so it's always there. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Anchor, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever your audio-only version on there, probably tomorrow morning. You guys want to check that out. So lots of big games tonight. I don't think we saw the big upset like we saw last week, like a South Point going down or like a Chester going down. We did see some games that kind of surprised us, some teams that really showed up and played well 2 weeks in a row, like a Ridgeview, pulling off a big win over AC Florida. That's a team I like a lot, though. I told you guys that going into the playoffs in our preview shows. I thought they were a very good football team, so big win for them. But I'm going to run through the scores one more time for you guys who are just tuning in. I see we've got Taylor in there, Brian, Amy is watching us. I see Tim. Let's see, I see Hunter and Brett in here. So you've got Walhalla and Gaffney football checking us out. Indians, big win for you guys tonight. Excited to see how that rematch goes next week. So what I'm going to do this time as we're going through is I'm going to actually give a quick little preview of next week's game and what I think might happen. I'm going to try to get John back in here to do a preview show this week for next week's games. I don't know how that's going to work. He always seems to be a little busy. So we'll see how that goes. But like I said, lots of good football tonight. We're going to run through the scores and kind of give you a quick preview of some of next week's games. And then if you guys read a game, I know Amy was at the Greenville game. Amy, feel free to shoot me some notes about how that game went down. Like I said, I was trying to follow it back and forth, but didn't get to watch a ton of it. I did see the field goal that was made at the end there. Brian, if you were at the Gaffney game, feel free to let me know how that kind of turned out. I saw it seemed like Gaffney was, Gaffney handled it from the very start, but love to see some more of that. I saw that Stan Ellis do a TD pass. I was wondering if the Lindsay kid went down or maybe it was just some kind of play with Stan in there. So if you got some feedback on that, feel free to let me know. And I'm sure Chris and Jeff and those guys were down there. So give me all your feedback. We're going to start here again, 5A, in case you guys are just tuning in. Burns goes on the road to Lawrence, 41-12 winners there. I got to read you some of these Rajay Davis stats. That kid, if you've not seen him play for Burns, he is a monster. And with some of the weather we've had tonight, I don't know if you guys were raining where you were or not, but it certainly rained. It was raining over in Lawrence. Listen to these final stats for Rajay Harris of Burns. 23 carries, 281 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That's in the second-round playoff game. You don't really expect to see a guy get that big of numbers, especially when it's against a team like Lawrence, who's a very good football team, and a team like Burns, who has multiple options. They can go passing with Lawrence Scott. They don't have to just hand the ball the whole time. So surprising to see him get those big of numbers. But that kid can play. He really showed up. First play of the game, took it to the house and set the tone early for Burns as they came out with a big victory, 41-12 over Lawrence. They will take on a region opponent here in round 3, the Gaffney Indians. Gaffney takes down Sumter 33-7. Hats off to the Indians. I thought they were going to win this game. John wasn't so sure. I've been on Gaffney the last 2 weeks to win. But anytime you can travel that far from Gaffney to Sumter, I mean, that's a long drive, first off. When you can go down there and you can beat a one seed from another conference, a team that hadn't lost a game all year, 9-0 Sumter team, I guess 10-0 after playoffs last week, beat them 33-7. That's a big win there for the Indians. And I tell you what, they want another shot at Burns. They're going to get it next week. That game kind of got out of hand for them a little bit to give up 50-something points, which is something you usually don't see out of a Gaffney defense. But I think Gaffney's a little bit healthier this time around, so it'll be very interesting to see how that game goes. Got a comment here from Chris. Lindsey went out with an ankle injury right before the half and brought Stain, and he ran to play for Lost. Okay, yeah. So sounds like it should be a minor injury for Andre Lindsey, and he should be back next week. But if not, Stan Ellis can certainly carry the load if needed there. But you'd love to have him out at wide receiver if possible. So hopefully the Lindsey kid can get back. But that is going to be a whale of a ball game next week between Gaffney and Burns. Gaffney has lost to Burns, I guess, 3 times in a row because Burns beat him in the regular season and playoffs last year. Burns beat him regular season this year. That game next week, I think Gaffney may have something for the Rebels for sure. I'll give my official pick in just a second, but keep on going down 5A now. Dorman shuts out Spring Valley 49-0. Clover, Malden put up a valiant fight, but Clover beats Malden 58-31. Dutch Fork 45, Wando 0. Fort Dorchester 31-7 over Berkeley. Carolina Forest in the game that was last night beats River Bluff 36-25. Mason Garcia and those guys just keep on rolling there. Their opponent is still to be determined. Goose Creek and Somerville actually got postponed until tomorrow at noon, so we'll see how that game turns out tomorrow. And then back to the game before that, Dutch Fork and Fort Dorchester. This may be the toughest game that Dutch Fork has to play until the state championship. Fort Dorchester, really good program down there. I know they're undefeated. Dutch Fork's undefeated. They got a tie, but I wouldn't worry about that. So it should be a very good ball game there between Dutch Fork and Fort Dorchester. And actually, Dutch Fork will be going on the road down to Fort Dorchester next week. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out there. A couple more comments. Chris said it'll start 3-0. Yeah, that's right. Gaffney was actually up 33-0, and Sumter got a late touchdown just to get on the board there. And then Lindsey came back in and played. So Lindsey, should be good to go for next week. It sounds like. Sean, we'll check out the COD later. Maybe we'll get into that here in a little bit. But on to the 4A matchups here. Greenville 24-21 winners over BHP. That's with a last-second field goal to win the ball game there. Greer and Wren, I still don't have a final for it yet. We're just going to go with 65-29 final with Greer as the loser, Wren as the winner. 65-29 Wren. I just want to write that in there for you. So we got Greenville and Wren next week, and I think, no offense to Greenville, I think Wren might beat them by 30. That Wren team and that Wren offense is really, really good. Greenville's got a tough defense. I think Greenville's best shot, if I was the coach, they've got a couple really good running backs here. I would give them the ball 50 times. I would not put it in the air. I would try to just pound Wren, kind of play ball control, keep the ball out of Joe Owens, that offense's hands, as much as I can. I think that's Greenville's best shot. I don't know what Coach Porter's going to think about that, but that's how I would play it, because I don't think you want to get into the shootout with Wren. Not many teams in 4A can hang with them, and when they get offense rolling. The next 4A game was Daniel, a 27-22 victory over Westwood. That game kind of surprised me. You see those two teams last week. Daniel's known for putting up a lot of points, scored 38 last week. Westwood scored 70 points last week. For Daniel to hold them to 22, big victory there for the Daniel Lions. Both defenses must have played pretty well, but Daniel comes out on top, 27-22. They will play Ridgeview next week. Ridgeview 28-15 winners over AC Flora. So Ridgeview has now knocked off TR and AC Flora in back-to-back weeks. Ridgeview will go on the road to Daniel. I think that was a game they played in the playoffs last year, which I believe Ridgeview won. I think it's a playoff rematch from a year ago. I'm really big on the Ridgeview team. That defense is good enough to win a state championship. Their defense is really, really good. If the offense just doesn't turn it over and gives them a little something, they've got a good chance to go a long way there. So I think Ridgeview may pull, I guess, the technical upset divided by off of seeds there next week. In Lower State 3A, this is where we got a little interesting. Airport all over Lower Richland 42-12, and then Myrtle Beach beats North Myrtle Beach 35-27 last night. That game, it's all about Luke Doty. If Luke Doty plays, I think the Seahawks are going to win. If he doesn't play, I think Airport can win. I know Ryan Berger is a solid quarterback, a solid backup, that is, for Myrtle Beach. But if he has to play a full game against the Airport team that is rolling right now, coming off two very good wins over Colony County and then Little Richland tonight, I think without Luke Doty, Airport can win that game. But if he plays, I think Myrtle Beach will probably come out the victor there. And in the bottom little pod there in 4A, we've got Brooklyn KC 40-6 winners over Wilson, and they will take on Hartsville at 34, who won 34-17 over Beaufort tonight. I think Brooklyn KC is the favorite there. So, if this works out like I'm thinking here, if Doty doesn't play, looks like we're going to have a Brooklyn KC Airport rematch next, maybe in round 4 there for Lower State. Two teams in the same conference and two teams that played for the conference championship just a couple weeks ago. Got a comment from Hunter said Doty is done according to ABC 15. Hunter, I've seen both sides. I've seen reports say he's done. I saw somebody talk to the coach that he's not done. So I don't know what to believe. Is that confirmed like tonight? Did that come out tonight or anything? Because I haven't seen anything new since last night. So I don't know if he's for sure out or not. But if he is, that's a game changer because that kid is as good as they come for sure. And like I've said before, I think he's going to Columbia next year. I think he's going to start at quarterback. I think he's better than Holinsky. I think he's better than anything else I got. I think Luke Doty will be the QB in Columbia next year. On to 3A as I digress there off of my thing there. So, yeah, Chris asked about 3A. We're getting out in here right now, actually. We'll start Upper State 3A. Woodruff all over Pendleton 52-6. Chapman all over Newberry 52-14. Chapman and Woodruff will be a good ball game next week, but I still think Chapman's going to win. I don't see many teams in 3A that are going to beat Chapman. There's a hand, like maybe 3 that can possibly, if Chapman has a bad night. And I don't think Woodruff's one of them. I think Chapman's going to roll again next week. Union County 53-28 over Chesney, and then Camden 39-7 over Broome. That will be one of the games in the state to watch next week. That Union and Camden game is going to be awesome in 3A football. If you can get over to Union County, I would suggest being there next Friday night. So a really good ball game there. I set up between Union and Camden. And now into Lower State 3A. Strom Thurmond all over Sherrall 42-7. And May River last night beats Aner 36-22, Chris. And that was a game I think actually was not even that close. Aner got a couple late touchdowns in the fourth to make it look respectable. But May River really handled that game from the start against Aner. And then Gilbert tonight in a game that was moved to River Bluff due to some weather concerns. Gilbert beats Lake City 45-6. And then last night down in Varnville, Dillon beats Wade Hampton 28-21, setting up a matchup there between Dillon and Gilbert. Teams that have played in the playoffs the last couple of years, been really blowouts on Dillon's side. Interesting to see if Gilbert can get one back. I think we're headed towards a May River and Dillon Lower State final here in a couple of weeks, so we'll see how that turns out. On to 2A, Southside Christian 23-7 victory over Batesburg Leesville, and that's without their starting quarterback. Interesting to see if Hertzberg is ready for next week for the matchup against Saluda, who beat Burke 55-22. That Saluda team's already played. Southside Christian beat them, but if they don't have their starting quarterback, all bets are off. Chris, that was a surprise to me because Aner beat Dillon. Yeah, Aner beat Dillon, gave Dillon their first regular season conference loss in 10 seasons. I think that Aner team, maybe that's one of those nights where everything just kind of came together. They really played up to it. That's the team they see every year. Dillon is, so maybe that's how that worked. But yeah, May River and the Sharks, they have a good program down there. So interesting to see how that game turns out here next week for those guys. Abbeville, team that continues to roll all over Andrew Jackson 37-0. And then Gray Collegiate 44-18 over St. Joe's. It's an interesting matchup next week. Gray Collegiate, like I mentioned last week, has one of the most prolific passing offenses that we've seen in SC high school football. Their quarterback's thrown for 3,500 yards in the regular season. Like, you don't see that in high school. So Gray Collegiate has a really air raid offense there. They're throwing it around for sure. So interesting to see how that game turns out against Abbeville next week. I think Abbeville obviously is the favorite. They're the favorite to win the whole thing in 2A. But that'll be a good matchup next week to see how that happens, especially with Abbeville going on the road to Gray Collegiate with the way the bracket is set up. Then in Lower State, we have Timberland 28-6 over Bamberg Earhart, and Barnwell continues to roll 41-0 over Burke. Got a couple comments here. Hunter said Aner played ball control that game against Dillon. Yeah, they did. I read some of that too. They really just ground and pound, kept it on the ground, and kept it away from the Wildcats, and that's what you got to do. They've got a very explosive offense. Dillon does a lot of good receivers and good quarterback there. So back to 2A, Barnwell and Timberland next week. That'll be a really good ball game. But I'm telling you, I think Barnwell, that team is trying to get back to Columbia, to Columbia to play Benedict. They got kind of embarrassed against Abbeville and State last year. I think they're going to do their best to get back there, and I think they're going to take down Timberland by a couple scores next week. And then the last game in 2A, we've got Woodland 32-6 winners over Calhoun. They'll be taking on Oceanside Collegiate, who won 20-0 over Whale Branch. I think Oceanside Collegiate is the favorite here. They will actually be going on the road to Woodland, since they're technically a 4 seed now, even though they're really a 1 seed. Oceanside Collegiate, like we said, is a good ball team. They're disguised as a 4 seed. There should be a 1 seed, but there's the whole issue with the extra players playing the JV guys and whatnot. So Oceanside Collegiate will beat Woodland by 20 points next week in 2A. It's not going to be close. And then wrap up in 1A here. Rich Spring Monetta 38-30 over Whitmire. Blackfield Hilda 36-12 over McBee. Rich Spring Monetta and Blackfield Hilda next week will be a good ball game there. I think Blackfield Hilda will handle them fairly easily. I've got to tell you, I don't know a ton about 1A. I just don't. But I think Blackfield Hilda is probably the better team there. Lamar 64-0 over Ware Shoals will play Wagner Sally, who beat McCormick 44-0. This is the game of the week next week in 1A, in my opinion. Wagner Sally has been wanting Lamar all year. Wagner Sally is undefeated. They're 11-0 after their win tonight. Lamar, a very good football team still, but I think they're a hair down from maybe some of the older years with Michael Hamlin and Marquise Hamlin, those guys. I think Wagner Sally in a close one gets by Lamar next Friday night. In the lower state in 1A, Cross 34-26 over Baptist Hill will take on Lakeview, who 60-6 or beat Branchville 60-6. I think Lakeview is going to get to the next round and play for Lower State with a big win over Cross next week. C.E. Murray beat Scotch Branch 44-6, and Green Sea Floyd's shut out St. John's 65-0. Setting up a matchup between Green Sea Floyd's and C.E. Murray. I think Green Sea Floyd's going to roll and set up a matchup against Lakeview here in the Lower State Final. So that wraps up all of our scores there. Hunter says need to go to a game with Blackfield Hilda. That's on my list, but it probably won't happen anytime soon. But we'll see about that. A couple new viewers. I see Brian McDougal's in here. I see Randy's in here. I think you guys tuned in. I see Ben. I see Paul in here. Thank you guys for checking us out. We appreciate it. If you don't follow us on Twitter, at Movin Chains on Twitter, MOVINCHAINS. That's where we kind of give some more in-game updates. If we're at a game, we're doing more score reporting, things like that. Or here on Facebook, we're really just giving you final scores and kind of going live. But if you tuned in late, feel free to watch the show afterward. You can start it back at the beginning. That's what's great about Facebook Live. It's always going to stay on Facebook. We're also on YouTube. We'll be on YouTube shortly after the show, probably tomorrow morning, maybe at the latest. Then we'll have an audio version also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Speaker, Spotify, all that stuff. So wherever you want to check us out, we are there. Shout out to our sponsor, the George Agency. They've got 40 years of insurance experience. Open enrollment is here now. You've got to have insurance. It's literally a law. So if you're a seasonal worker, maybe a hospitality worker, maybe you don't have insurance through your company, give Bradley and Richard and the guys a call there at the George Agency. They're at georgeagency.net.com. Check them out and give them a call. Let them help you out with all your insurance needs. Also, shout out to our sponsor, Always on Top Clothing, Always on Top brand. If you're a Tar Heels fan, you got to get this shirt. To prove the Gamecocks, you guys are always on top. So thank you to our great sponsors there. Got a question from Randy. What are the 5A matchups next week? 5A is going to be a lot of fun, Randy. You're going to notice, from being here in the area, of course, 3 of the 4 teams that are left in the Upper State are from Region 2. No surprise there. We've got Gaffney going on the road to Burns, a game that Gaffney lost pretty badly earlier in the year. They had some injuries, though, in Burns. Burns handled Lawrence pretty easily tonight, so that'll be a fun matchup over there at Nixon Field. Then we've got Dorman going on the road to Clover. To see how that game turns out, they'll be very interesting as well. I'm not sold on Clover. I think Dorman will roll Clover, in all honesty. The Burns-Gaffney game is going to be a really fun matchup, especially with Gaffney a little bit healthier than they were back then. And, really, I know that Burns scored 55 or 50-something points on Gaffney the first time, which is something you never see against the Gaffney defense. It just kind of got one of those things where it kind of snowballed a little bit on them, where it really wasn't that bad. So I think the key, in all honesty, if you can stop Rajay Harris, that's what you got to do. That kid had 250-something yards tonight. I said 5 touchdowns. So it will be a very good football game over there at Nixon Field. I've got to pick Burns because I picked Burns to win state in our preview show, so I've got to stick with them. But I think this is a coin flip ball game. I really do. I think either team could pull it out. I would not be surprised either way. Got a comment. Chris says Dorman by 20. Yeah, you're probably right. Dorman is not allowed a point in the playoffs yet, and that Clover team, I don't think they're that great. So I think you're right about the Dorman win there. Lower State 5A, we've got Dutch Fork Dutch Fork on the road at Fort Dorchester. Dutch Fork still obviously the favorite in 5A. They've been the favorite all year. They've been the unanimous number 1 team with the Olenchek kid at QB, the Hyatt kid at wide receiver. Studs on defense everywhere. I think Dutch Fork going down to Fort Dorchester. I think this may be a little bit closer game for Dutch Fork than what they usually have, but I still think the Silver Foxes are going to roll pretty easily there. I think Dutch Fork probably wins by 14 points, 20 points, something like that. And maybe probably more than that, in all honesty. But Dutch Fork going to Fort Dorchester, that may be their toughest game in Lower State, in all honesty, next week. And then our final 5A matchup, Randy, will be Carolina Forest against either Goose Creek or Summerville. That game there got postponed until noon tomorrow. So Goose Creek and Summerville will take on each other at noon tomorrow at Goose Creek. So you can see how that one turns out. I think Carolina Forest is their run's probably come to an end. I think both those teams, I think Goose Creek's going to beat Summerville, and I think Goose Creek will beat Carolina Forest. But if somehow Summerville pulls the upset, I think Carolina Forest could beat Summerville. So we'll see how that one turns out. But that's all our 5A matchups. 4A matchups next week. Greenville hosting Wren. I think Wren's going to win that one. I think Wren might beat them by 20, 25 points. Like I said, Greenville's best shot. They've got to slow it down, keep the ball out of Wren's hands. That Wren offense with Joe Owens gets to rolling, and they can score anybody. They scored 56 last week against Orangeburg Wilkinson. They scored 65 tonight against Greer. They've been scoring points all season long. So I think they average like 37, 38 points a game. So you don't want to get into a shootout with Wren for sure. A couple comments from Chris is I think Goose Creek wins by 7. Yeah, I think Goose Creek is a better team. Chris, I agree with you. Fort Dorchester pulling the upset of the year. That would certainly be the upset of the year if they could win that one. So you're going to see how that turns out next week there in 5A. The second 4A matchup game I'm really intrigued by is Daniel hosting Ridgeview, a matchup from the playoffs last year. You know, Daniel has a very good offense with the Venables kid there. Pretty good defense. The defense played well tonight against Westwood. They really did. Ridgeview has a very, very good defense. Offense is a little suspect sometimes. I think Ridgeview wins this game, but it may be the game of the week. It's going to be a close ball game over there at Daniel. The Lions, I think, will go down, though, to Ridgeview in a close one. In Lower State 4A, we've got Airport hosting Myrtle Beach. You know, like we talked about earlier, Hunter, it all kind of depends on the Doty kid. If Doty's out, I think Airport wins. If Doty plays, I think Myrtle Beach wins. So that's what it comes down to really there. And then in the lower half, we have Brooklyn KC hosting Hartsville. I think Brooklyn KC wins that game 10 points, 14 points. I'm not sold on Hartsville still. You know, I know they've won 2 games in the playoffs, but that team lost a lot from last year, and I just don't think they quite had the firepower to beat Brooklyn KC next week on the road. 3A matchups. Chris, game of the week for sure. Daniel and Ridgeview. I agree. He likes Daniel by 3. I could see that. I think Daniel by 3, Ridgeview by 3. Either one, it's a really toss up there. I think Woodruff and Chapman. Chapman's going to win. It may be a closer ball game than some other Chapman games, but I think Chapman is just too offensively loaded for Woodruff. And then Union is hosting Camden. Really good ball game there over at Union County. If you can get down to that, that'll be a great game to go to there. I think I'm going to lead with Kashawn Glover and Union County being at home. I'm going to give them a slight edge there, but that'll be a great ball game there in 3A. In Lower State, we have Strom Thurmond hosting May River. You know, this is a game. You know, Strom Thurmond's been kind of an odd team to me all year. Hadn't really been able to figure them out. May River coming off a big win over Ainer. Like we talked about, Chris, the 36-22 win over Ainer was big for May River there. I think I'm going to go with May River to pull the upset over Strom Thurmond, even though they're on the road. I think I like May River next week in that game. And then Gilbert will be hosting Dillon. Gilbert big winners, Dillon kind of a close game, but I think Dillon played a better opponent with Wade Hampton, obviously. I think that Dillon team's getting to Columbia. I think that Ainer loss woke them up. They've got playmakers all over the field on offense. The quarterback, Lester, is a stud. They've got 2 really good running backs. They've got 2 really good receivers. They've got the best receiver in the state for the class of 2021, Amari Huggins-Bruce. Kid is lightning quick. The defense for Dillon is always there. They always got some nasty cats over there on that side. So I think Dillon will beat Gilbert next week to go to Lower State. 2A matchups, we have Southside Christian and Saluda. That's another game that comes down to quarterback health. I think if the Hertzberg kids playing, I think the Sabres will win. I think they beat Saluda. If he doesn't play, Saluta's got a very good chance to upset Southside Christian. So it all depends on his health there next week. Abbeville taking on Gray Collegiate. Abbeville going on the road to Gray Collegiate. Like I talked about, Gray Collegiate, great offense, great passing offense. Abbeville is still going to be too tough. Abbeville is going to win that football game next week. Lower State, Timberland traveling to Barnwell. Barnwell is a better team. Barnwell's going to win, and that's all there is to it. The Pender kid at QB is really good. They got some really good linemen, some really good defensive players. Barnwell's going to win that football game. And then Woodland is Oceanside Collegiate traveling to Woodland next week. I think Oceanside Collegiate wins that game as well. That's a team that they really reseeding, with them having to kind of forfeit some games, really worked out well for them because they actually got to avoid a lot of the big 2A teams in Lower State until the Lower State final. So I think Oceanside Collegiate beats Woodland next week. 1A, Rich Spring Minetta on the road at Blackfield Hilda. I like Blackfield Hilda there. Lamar on the road at Wagner Sally. I like Wagner Sally in that one. That is probably the game of the week in 1A right there, Wagner Sally and Lamar. And then Lakeview hosting Cross. I like Lakeview in that one. And then Greensea Floyd's hosting C.E. Murray, and I like Greensea Floyd's there. So that wraps it up pretty much. I'm going to give my team of the week pick here just a second. I'm trying to think about who I liked, who had a really good win, who kind of pulled an upset in my eyes there. I think I'm going to go with a team that I've been high on, a team that I picked to go to the state championship game. Let me double check my scores to make sure I don't want to switch it to somebody else. Yeah, my team of the week is going to be Ridgeview. I think those guys going on the road, beating AC Flora 28-15, big win for Ridgeview there. That's my team of the week. I'm going with those guys. I'll get John from him sometime tomorrow probably, but I'm going to take Ridgeview as my team of the week for round 2 of the playoffs. Thank you guys for tuning in on Facebook and on Twitter. We're at MOVINCHAINS on Twitter. We're at Movin the Chains SC on Facebook, also on YouTube, also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Anchor, wherever you can check us out. Follow along for an audio version on there if you kind of want to check us out, maybe while you're driving to work or at the gym or whatever. It's on there as soon as tomorrow morning, so be sure to follow us on there. Give us a 5-star, subscribe, all that cool stuff. Check out our sponsors, the George Agency. Over 40 years of insurance experience here in the state. They've got offices in Merle's Inlet and Mullins, but they can help you out no matter where you are. They've got clients in Columbia, clients in Greer, Seneca, Aiken, obviously Myrtle Beach, wherever you want to go. The George Agency can help you out there. Call Bradley and Richard and the gang for all your life and health insurance stuff. Or if you're even a business owner, they can get it for your whole company. They can do some group insurance for you as well. Obviously, the prices are not going to be any different than if you do it yourself and if you use those guys. So why not use a professional to make sure you get the coverage you need? So check those guys out. Check out our other sponsor, Always on Top Clothing, Always on Top Brand. Get your shirts now on Instagram and Facebook. Got a question from Hunter Allen. No, Hunter, PD did not win tonight. PD Academy went down to Thomas Hayward 20-7. Tough loss there for the Eagles. That ends their season there. They were actually up 7-6, and the offense kind of sputtered from that point forward with Thomas Hayward winning. I don't have any other excuses for you guys, and I apologize. I've been a little slack on getting those together, but that is the one exclusive score I do have. So any other questions or things you guys have before I sign off? So I know I've talked through a lot. Anybody scores you guys missed, or any scores you want to hear? I still got some new viewers on Twitter right now checking in. Hey guys, appreciate it. So if you're just starting now, when I end the broadcast, you can go back and start it over, obviously. So feel free to do that, to check out anything else you might need. I'm going to talk to John about getting another show going next week. Maybe the last one of the year next week, because after that, there's not a lot of games going on. So we'll see what happens. But thanks again for tuning in to Movin the Chains. We're at Movin Chains. I'm on Twitter, MOVINCHAINS. Movin the Chains SC on Facebook. Like I said, on YouTube, everywhere else. Run through these scores really quickly again. Burns 41-12 over Lawrence. Gaffney 33-7 over Sumter. Dorman 49-0 over Spring Valley. Clover 58-31 over Malden. Dutch Fork 45-0 over Wando. Fort Dorchester 37-7 over Berkeley. Carolina Forest 36-25 over River Bluff. And 4A, Greenville 24-21 over BHP. Wren 65-29 over Greer. Daniel 27-22 over Westwood. Ridgeview 28-15 over AC Flora. Airport 42-12 over Lower Richland. Myrtle Beach 35-27 over North Myrtle Beach. Brooklyn KC 40-6 over Wilson. Hartsville 34-17 over Beaufort. In 3A, Woodruff 52-6 over Pendleton. Chapman 52-14 over Newberry. Union 53-28 over Chesney. Camden 39-7 over Broome. Strom Thurmond 42-7 over Sherraw. May River 36-22 over Ainer. Gilbert 45-6 over Lake City. And Dillon 28-21 over Wade Hampton. In 2A, Hunter Allen says he missed the lattice score. Yeah, maybe they play basketball on Hunter. I don't know for sure. But yeah, they are done for the season in football after that tough loss last week against Timberland. Speaking of 2A football, let's get those scores right quick. Southside Christian 23-7 over Batesburg-Leesville. Saluda 55-22 over Beaufort. Abbeville 37-0 over Andrew Jackson. Gray Collegiate 44-18 over St. Joe's. Timberland 28-6 over Bamberg-Earhart. Barnwell 41-0 over Burke. Woodland 7-6 over Calhoun. Oceanside Collegiate 28-0 over Whale Branch. And then single A, we have Rich Spring Monetta 38-30 over Whitmire. Blackfield Hilda 36-12 over McBee. Lamar 64-0 over Ware Shoals. Wagner Sally 44-0 over McCormick. Cross 34-26 over Baptist Hill. Lakeview 60-6 over Branchville. C.E. Murray 44-6 over Scotts Branch. And Green Sea Floyd 65-0 over St. John's. That wraps us up, guys. Once again, team of the week for me is Ridgeview, big winners over AC Floyd 28-15. Looking forward to some really good ball games next week. I think Burns Gaffney is going to be awesome. I think Dutchport Fort Dorchester will be really good. I think Daniel Ridgeview is going to be amazing. Airport and Myrtle Beach will be good. I think Union and Camden is going to be good. Strong Thurman May River is going to be good. Southside Christian Salute is going to be good. Abbeville Great Collegiate is going to be good. Just a lot of great ball games. Wagner Sally Lamar is going to be awesome in 1A. So if you guys are going to a game next week, feel free to tweet us some scores and updates and pictures while you're at the game, or send us to them on Facebook. I know Denise does a good job of that with the Daniel stuff for us, because obviously John and I can't be everywhere at once, so we can't follow all the games at one time. So feel free to keep us up to date with what you guys are checking out. So once again, I'm Kevin Thomas here, Moving the Chains. Thank you guys for tuning in on Facebook and Twitter, and we will see you guys next week for round 3 of the playoffs.